Today is Easter Sunday and we're celebrating the day of the resurrection of Jesus. So I invite you to look with me at the last saying of Jesus according to the Gospel of Luke when he was on the cross. Now it was about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. Then the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was torn in two. And when Jesus had cried out with a loud voice, he said, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." Having said this, he breathed his last. So when the centurion saw what had happened, he glorified God, saying, "Certainly, this was a righteous man." Here again, Jesus is quoting a psalm. This is the Psalm 31 that Jesus quoted because in this psalm, the psalmist is wrestling to trust in God through suffering, through adversity. He is wrestling in order to keep on trusting God. And in verse 5 he says, "Into your hands I commit my spirit." But Jesus adds this word, Father. Father. In the gospel, Jesus shows us who the Father is. And not all of us have a great picture of what it means for God to be a father. A lot of us, we think of God as a mighty judge, always angry, always ready to smack someone down, to punish. But that's not the Father of Jesus. In this sentence, Jesus reveals the real face of the Father. The Father is a good, loving God who gives everything he has to find us. Yes, the Father is just. Yes, the Father demands justice, but it's not because he is angry. That's not because he's wrathful. The Father demands justice because he is loving. The wrath of God comes out of the love of God. The wrath of God is manifested against everything that destroys and hinders love. In verse 47, we have this strange and odd passage that tells us that right at the moment that Jesus died, the Roman centurion starts worshiping God. This man who is not even a Jew starts worshiping God when he sees Jesus dying. Why is that? In the Gospel of Mark, we see in Mark 15 that this same centurion says, "Surely this man was the Son of God." In the Gospels, we see the cross presented not just as a historical event, not just as something that happened in the past, but as the very manifestation of who God is and what he is like. The cross is the perfect revelation of who God is. If you want to know who God is, and if you want to know what God is like, don't go look at the mountains. Don't go look at the cathedrals. Don't go look at what men built. Don't go look at the big armies, the big discourse on God. Don't go opening theology books or philosophy books. If you want to know what God is like, what he really, really is like, look at the cross. Look at this man who is God incarnate, giving himself for the sake of love. If we look at this sentence, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit," we see not only what it reveals of the Father of Jesus as a loving Father, but we also see that this Father has the power to save. We all know that death is the ultimate enemy. Sometimes we forget it, and most of the time actually we try to forget death. We try to forget about this enemy. We try to entertain ourselves and just don't think about death. But every once in a while it comes as a surprise. And death is the ultimate enemy because it destroys everything we care about. It destroys our family. It destroys our dreams. It destroys our civilization. It destroys everything we ever cared about. Death is a voracious enemy that we cannot avoid. But on Easter, the trust of Jesus in the Father destroys the power of death. Death has no hold on this righteous man. Death has no hold on this one who gave himself into the hands of the Father in an act of love and faith. And Jesus trusted the Father that even the ultimate enemy would be defeated, even death, through the power of the Spirit and the obedience of Jesus was defeated. And it reminds me of this passage in the book The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, when Sam Gamgee comes to Gandalf and meets Gandalf again, and he says, "Gandalf, Gandalf, I thought you were dead." Well, I thought I was dead myself. Is everything sad going to come untrue? What's happening to the world? Just like Sam wondered at the life of Gandalf, we can wonder at the life of Jesus Christ and celebrate with him that in Jesus there's nothing too big, too strong, too painful. There's no sorrow too big that cannot be restored, that cannot be healed by God. The gospel is the good news that God has acted in the world. The gospel tells us that God is on a mission to make right everything that went wrong. It's not just easy forgiveness. It cost God everything. And it's effective. In Jesus, God has conquered the worst enemies, the enemies that oppressed humanity. On the cross, he defeated death and sin and the powers of darkness once and for all. And on Easter Sunday, the tomb was open and Jesus came out and God started the restoration of everything. The good news changes lives today. The good news is powerful. The good news can set you free. The good news can heal our world. And one day we believe it, that one day the ultimate enemy, even death, will just be a memory. So here is my encouragement to you today. Pray with Jesus and say, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." Whatever your worries, whatever your suffering, whatever your lack of trust in the goodness of God, look at the cross, look at the empty tomb, and pray, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Happy Easter. God bless you.